Yeah, so appraisal. So this is the formal process where an individual's job performance is assessed and evaluated by the supervisor, or it can be the manager or the HR representative. So you know what performance appraisal is, it? Yeah. So it is the formal process where an individual's job performance is assessed, evaluated by their supervisor, manager, or HR representative. So what is the purpose of performance appraisal? Why do people conduct a performance appraisal? So the number of reasons I've just listed down four. The first one is to evaluate employee performance against set objectives. So you evaluate employee performance against set goals, objectives, and expectations. So you want to check how the employee is performing against the goals that were set or against the objectives that were set. Number two, you provide the purpose of appraisal is to provide constructive feedback to improve performance, address areas and concern. So from when you are evaluating the employee, you tend to give that employee feedback. So that feedback can actually help to improve the performance. And then there's the other purpose is to set new goals and objectives for upcoming review period. So after you have done the appraisal, the employee is supposed to set new goals for the upcoming period. So you set new goals. Yeah, so the purpose of the appraisal is for you to set new goals and objectives for the upcoming review. The last one is to discuss career development. So most of appraisal performance, so when you are doing an appraisal, most of the time you need to address things like career development, the training needs for the employee, and also growth. Yeah, so that is the purpose of appraisal. So now we look at the five key elements of performance appraisal. Yeah, so the five key elements of the appraisal include assessing performance. So you assess performance against the set standards or the set or against the agreed targets or objectives. And then there's feedback. So you provide information to the individual on their performance and progress. So the employee gets feedback from the supervisor on how he is performing, he or she is performing. And then we have positive reinforcement. That is the other key element of performance appraisal. Uh, So on positive reinforcement, you emphasize what has been done well and making only constructive criticism about what might be improved. So you emphasize on what has been done well, quite well, and then you give a constructive criticism on what might be improved. And then we have exchange of views. Yes, on exchange of views, there is need for exchange of views about what has happened and how a appraisee can improve their performance and the support they need from their managers or supervisor to achieve um, their goals. So there's that exchange of views from the supervisor and also from the employee. And then number five is agreement. So jointly coming up to an understanding by both parties about what needs to be done to improve performance. So you sit down with your supervisor and you agree on what needs to be done for you to improve, for the employee to improve performance. Yeah, so those are the five key elements of appraisal, performance appraisal. Yeah, so we have different, there are two approaches to performance appraisal. Okay. Yeah. So two approaches to performance appraisal. There are two approaches. The first one is administrative approach. The second one is developmental approach. So on administrative approach, it focuses on evaluating employees' performance to make administrative decisions. So you use the results from the performance appraisal to make administrative decisions. So decisions can be determining salary increase. So for you to increase someone's salary, you go back and check the performance appraisal form of that individual. And then you can use that for, you can use performance appraisal for identifying employees for promotion. So if you want to promote someone, don't you go back to the performance appraisal to check, performance appraisal evaluation to check who was performing and who was not, and then you promote the one who was performing. So the second approach to performance appraisal is developmental approach. So the developmental approach, it focuses on improving employee performance and growth, emphasizing on identifying strength and areas of improvement. So now you are taking the performance appraisal evaluation results to identify the individual strength and also to identify the areas of improvement. The results can also be used to set goals and development plans, and also provide constructive feedback and coaching. So those are the two approaches of to performance appraisal. Yeah, so sources of performance appraisal. The first source of performance appraisal could be the immediate supervisor, because the immediate supervisor is in a position to observe, direct, and evaluate subordinates' performance, and also he or she is the one that is responsible for the person's performance. And peers. So peers are in a better position to evaluate certain facts of job performance, which the subordinate or superiors cannot. So peers can be in a better position to evaluate certain facts that subordinates or supervisors cannot. Um, So the appraisal by peers is most popular in an organization where they use team appraisal, that use team appraisal or peer appraisal. Yeah, so that is the second one. The third one is subordinates, using subordinates. Um, so some organizations, they let subordinate to rate their superiors' performance. So I am the manager, my subordinates will appraise my performance. So the people that I'm supervising are the ones that are going to appraise my performance. So this is also called upward feedback. Yeah, so it's also called upward feedback. So this, the advantage of using subordinates is that it helps to know the expectations of the subordinates from their supervisor. So you are able to know what your subordinate are expecting from you. Yeah, and then we have self-appraisal. So here, the self-appraisal it gives a chance to the employee to look at his strength, the weaknesses, the achievements. So you are judging your own performance. And then we have committees. Rating committees. Um, so these committees contain the employee's immediate supervisor, 3 or 4 other supervisors. So if the committee can have your supervisor and also supervisors from other departments. Uh, and then we have user of service, the last one, user of service. So this appraisal is done in mostly in service organization where you have people actually coming to access your service. So most of the time, this is done in service organization where performance of the employee is evaluated on certain criteria like promptness, speed in performing a given task, and also accuracy. Yeah. So this most of the service is judged by the user of service. So like customers, all right, the clients, yes. Okay, now let's look at each and every source of appraisal. Let's look at the advantages and disadvantages of using each and every one of these sources of appraisal. The immediate supervisor. What is the advantage of using immediate supervisor?
The advantage is that the supervisor will be able to determine the strength and weaknesses and will be able to check where the employees are doing better and where they're not doing better. And we also be able to provide resources or control them, tell them that what you're doing is not correct, you should do that thing in this way.
Yes, that is very true because this one is the one you are working with like all the time. So he or she is in a better position to actually know how you work. All right? Yes. What is the disadvantage?
It needs a lot of time for it needs a lot of time since the supervisor is
Okay. All right. The other disadvantage can be biasness. Right? So um, the supervisor, if he doesn't like a certain person, he can give that person negative comments because he doesn't actually like that person. All right, so they can be biased. Yeah, they can. Um, yeah, so the supervisor can be biased or atoka kudama kondela certain people. Yeah, certain people drama on. And then number two, the second source of performance appraisal is peers. What is the advantage of using peers?
Yeah, there's what they can be supporting each other towards the goal and they'll be able to work together and they know each other's strength since they work together. They share skills and knowledge.
Yeah. So peers, these are the people that you are working with, right? Yeah. So it will be very easy for your peers to actually know how you work, so they can actually evaluate you even better. Disadvantages. Yeah. So the evaluation may be a bit subjective according to the way that the PMA views you. All right. Yeah. So it may not, the peers may not actually give a good evaluation. Uh, yeah, because of how they view you guys. Yeah. And then we have the other source of performance appraisal is subordinates. So you remember subordinates, this is where the people that you supervise appraise your performance. Yes. What is the advantages of using subordinates?
They'll be able to know expectations. They'll be able to know we share expectations. Employee will know what the manager expects from them, and the manager will also tell the employee what he or she expects from them.
Um, Disadvantage. Okay, so some other people may give a positive feedback. They give positive feedback because they want to be in good books with the supervisor because they know for them maybe to be promoted, it will be because of the supervisor's evaluation. Yeah, so they may end up giving positive feedback. So the results, yeah. And then rating committee. So this is where the immediate supervisor and supervisor from other departments sit down and evaluate you. What can be the advantages of uh, using this source of performance appraisal? Mhm.
So we need to increase the evidences. You are not supervised. The supervisor is not the one coming with, it's someone else. So we work hard to achieve the goals.
Yeah. The last one is users of service. Advantage.
The employees here try to satisfy the clients and to satisfy the clients' needs and wants.
Okay. Disadvantage.
Not all the clients will be able to satisfy the services that have been given to them. Some will say that
All right. Yeah. So advantage could be that because the employees know that the users of the service are the ones evaluating them, they will make sure that they give out very good service, as you say. Disadvantage, subjectivity also comes in. Right? So the opinion may be biased, may be may be biased. Okay. So what should be rated?
sorry.
Yes, sir. How are you? Oh, good, good. Sure. It's been a while. Oh, yeah. How is everything? Okay. No, we can't go. You went to the village? Yes. Ah, okay. A few days in the village and also. Yeah, no, that's fine. That's wonderful. Ah, okay, okay. Oh, that's why that other day you said you were passing through the Santi Road. Yeah. I was on Saturday. That was by the way, what happened? I think the minibus driver was avoiding one jingle. So oh my goodness. So he swerved into the right. So he made his tongue. No. So was that fire by the yes, yes.
So after next week, we are starting exams. Okay.
Very hot, yeah. So NS life
So we're meeting this week and next week's class. Yeah, so what should be rated? Quality. So the degree to which the process or results of carrying out an activity approaches perfection in terms of either confronting to some ideal way of performing the activity or fulfilling the activity's intended purpose. So you rate the quality. Now you are rating the quality of the results that have been produced by the employee. So you check if the results are fulfilling the activity's intended purpose. You look at the perfection of the results. Number two, quantity. So quantity, we are looking at the amount produced or expressed in monetary terms. You are looking at number of units and number completed activity cycles. So that is on quantity. And then we have So now on timeliness, you are looking at the degree to which the activity is completed at the earliest time described from the standpoint of both coordinating with the outputs of others and of maximizing the time available for other activities. So you are looking at the degree to which the activity is completed at the earliest time. And then we have cost effectiveness. So on cost effectiveness, this is the degree to which the use of organization resources is maximized in the sense of getting the highest gain or reduction in loss from each unit. And number 5 is the need for supervision. So here you're looking at the degree to which a job performer can carry out a job function without either having to request supervisory intervention to prevent an adverse outcome. So you are looking at the degree to which a job performer can carry out job functions without being supervised.
So like in that scenario, what's it?
And number 6 is interpersonal impact. So on interpersonal impact, we are looking at the degree to which a performer promotes feeling of self-esteem, goodwill, and cooperation among co-workers and subordinates. Yeah, so that's it. Now we look at performance appraisal process.
No. But they so swallowing them. That's it. And no ID, no wallet, no phone, no nothing. Was that when DNA? That was bad. I think it has been bad. Let's go back to the system. The training of drivers, the road traffic, the police. Everything. Ethics. Was the way we try to get unnecessary overtakes and roadways, and car with the roads, and all those other things. Just weekends. Sometimes you can't just go to target it. Prima di che cammino e lavora in passo di riata di una di gente. Guarda, esagera di visa traffica. Passa la mano. Anche come Aí, tá só passo. Deixa eu ver o que seria.
Today is 27. page. Pajoria too. Yeah, so yeah, so performance appraisal process. So the process starts with setting performance standards. So you have to set performance standards. For example, if it's a marketing job, you are given targets. Yeah, so that can be an example of a performance standards. So you've been told by the end of this year, you're supposed to bring, let's say, 500 customers. All right. So that is a standard that has been set. So you've set performance standards and then you have to communicate the standards. So the employees, they have to know that these are the standards that have been set for them to be working towards those, to achieving those goals. And then after communicating the standards, you now measure the actual standards. So you have communicated the standards, the people, they have started working. Now you go back to measuring the actual standard. You check what the the employee is actually doing. Um, so if it's like the example that I gave you about bringing 500 customers, you check how many customers has the employee brought so far. All right. So after you measure the actual standards, now you compare the actual performance with the desired performance. So you check like the performance of the employee against the desired performance. So you check how many clients the employee has brought against the 500 that was bought. And then after that, you provide feedback. So the employee needs to know how he has done from the evaluation. So you provide feedback. After providing feedback, you take corrective action. So on corrective action, you can use the performance appraisal information, if a performance appraisal evaluation, the information from the performance appraisal can be used when you want to promote someone in your organization. Demotions. So if the person has not been performing, that person, you can decide to demote that person, or you can decide to offer training so that maybe he or she can perform better. Rewards. Most of the organization, they use the results from the performance appraisal when they want to give bonuses to their employees. Yeah. Problems with performance appraisal. So problems with performance appraisal. The first one is leniency factor. So some managers would try to avoid to have conflicts with their employees, so they end up rating them, being generous when it comes to rating, because they want the employees to see them as good managers. All right, so that is leniency. And then the second one is strictness factor. So on strictness factor, so this refers to the tendency of raters to be overly harsh when judging performance of employees. Yeah, so this is where you find managers being very strict when it comes to judging the performance of employees. And then we have bias effect. So on bias effect, you have some factors affecting the appraisal rating. the appraisal rating that an employee received. So this can be sex, race, or age. So you can actually, supervisors end up rating an employee lowly because of his sex, his or her sex, or because of the race, or because of the age. So that is a bias effect. And then we have halo effect. Um, uh, Here, the manager draws on one specific characteristic or one specific accomplishment to excessively influence performance reviews. So the manager only concentrates on one specific characteristic of that employee. So that characteristic actually influences the performance review. Yeah, so you may have the manager rating an employee highly because of maybe he or she has been very impressive in one area. He has been performing well in one area, even though he's not performing well in the other areas. And then we have horn effect. So on horn effect, you find that bosses tend to compare performance of their subordinates with negative attitude. And then we have rater effect. So on rater effect, high and low ratings are given to certain individuals or groups based on the rater's attitudes towards the ratee. So if it's the supervisor who is doing the rating, because he has a negative attitude towards a certain employee, he's going to rate that employee very low because of the attitude that he has towards that person. And then we have status effect. So on status effect, the employees working in higher level jobs are overrated, whereas employees working lower level jobs are underrated. So just because you have a high level job, you end up being overrated. While the ones that are working in lower level jobs are underrated. So that is the status effect. The other one is the latest behavior. So here the appraisal is influenced by the most recent behavior, ignoring the common behavior of an individual during the entire period. So the individual may be performing well, like Oseko, but because the most recent behavior, Sanabange behaved in, you end up being underrated. Yeah, so these are the problems that you may find with job performance appraisal. So next week, we'll look at characteristics of an effective performance appraisal. So I think that's all for today. Next week. So next week we'll finish the appraisal topic, and then we can do a bit of division. Yeah, because next week is the last weekend before. Okay. Yeah, so we can do a bit of division.